Okay, so a lot of you guys wanted me to do this video on Jessica Beauvoir, and it's been on my desk for a while. I've heard you guys. I've wanted to make the video, but I've had so many other things that I had to get to. Things just kept popping up, and they're still popping up, and there's still other things that I want to do. But I'm gonna do this video because so many of you guys requested it. And another thing, so many things that sisters are doing has popped up. I mean, this ain't nothing. Okay? But this sister did is really nothing, man. But she's a fellow content creator. She's on Facebook. Her platform of choice is Facebook. But she was radicalized by the three-headed hydra known as the three-headed trio known as Black Lives Matter, to go out here and be anti-police and hate police. And I truly believe that her hatred for police and her drunken state and the vitriol she had towards police because they killed a dope fiend in Minneapolis, and a man who was assaulting a woman in Milwaukee, and a dude who just came home from doing 7 years for cruelty to children in Atlanta. This Mother Earth is upset because those guys are no longer with us in some cases, and in other cases severely injured. And she doesn't appear to be hardcore. She doesn't appear to be a female jailbird, somebody who's just looking forward to hitting the day room at the female prison. You know, somebody who's going to be sharpening up her toothbrush as soon as she gets in the female prison. She looks like definitely a rat, a hoochie mama, a BT 1000. Definitely all that. But she don't strike me as the hardcore edition. She strikes me as the halfway edition. Probably got some colleges, whatever. But she's been radicalized by Patrice Cullors and also Alicia Garza. And Alicia Garza has some important news to tell us.
Also at the expense of your personal security.
That's right.
So talk about that part of it. How has this, movement and the attention that you have received impacted how safe you feel in this country?
Mm-hmm. It was awful this summer in particular, but it's been awful for a while. We get death threats pretty regularly, online, right? All the time. And this summer in particular, I got visited at my home by the FBI. They found my name and Patrice's name and a couple of elected officials' names on a piece of paper inside of the home of a man who was arrested on weapons charges, who they also came to know was a member of a white supremacist organization.
When was the last time a Black Lives Matter activist of note has been bumped, tripped up, shouted at, nudged, ice grilled by a white supremacist? When last time that happened? Martin Luther King? Since Martin Luther King died, name me. Didn't Al Sharpton get in a fight with a black dude on on that talk show back in the 80s. I forgot the name of it, but I can't name you one. Now, we can name a couple of local activists slash homies slash everyday black people that were victims of black on black crime and were murdered in the streets of their city, and I've documented that extensively. But we can't even name a Black Lives Matter activist or a black civil rights person that's been yelled at by white supremacists. What is she talking about? What is she afraid of?
And this summer in particular, I got visited at my home by the FBI. They found my name and Patrice's name and a couple of elected officials' names on a piece of paper inside of the home of a man who was arrested on weapons charges, who they also came to know was a member of a white supremacist organization. And they had a duty to warn, and literally that's what they do. They come, they tell you the tiniest bit of information, scare the shit out of you, and then they're like, be cool and dip, right? So here's that on that. And it did. It meant that I, have and still do have round-the-clock security. Now with that...
Who's paying for that round-the-clock security? Who's paying for that? I'm not. I ain't never gave him a dime. And I'm so proud that I haven't. I've never given them a red cent.
Have and still do have round-the-clock security. Now, with that being said, the way that I feel safe is a couple ways. Number one, it's talking about it. I'm not the only organizer or activist right now who is getting these kinds of threats, but I am more visible than a lot of the people who are getting these threats. And for a lot of folks, they don't know who to turn to, they don't know who to talk to about it, and they don't know if they should be talking about it. A lot of people think that if you are vocal about the threats that you're getting, that it'll encourage it. That's a thing, but also because community will step up for you. And what I have found is that through this process, when I started having to have security like that, it forced me to talk to my neighbors. And I had been kind of like in the cut, you know what I mean? Just trying to do what I do.
Forced her to talk to her neighbors. Give me a racial demographic breakdown on her neighbors. That all of a sudden now she's been forced to talk to.
It forced me to talk to my neighbors. And I had been kind of like in the cut, you know what I mean? Just trying to do what I do, like quietly. And it forced me to talk to all my neighbors and be like, hey, this is what's happening with me. This is why you're seeing all this. And every single one of my neighbors was like, yo, that's dope. And also, ain't nobody gonna fuck with you over here. Let me tell you what, my one neighbor put a Black Lives Matter flag right on her house. She was like, I am telling you right now, these people better not, because we will turn up. So it was a beautiful thing at the same time. And I feel much more safe because of that than I do because of security, right?
So she feels much more safe because of that than she does because of security. Just the fact that she used the word safe lets you know that these people are white. Along with the fact that somebody put a Black Lives Matter, along with the fact that somebody put a Black Lives Matter flag in their front yard. If you see 100 yards with a Black Lives Matter flag in it, 95 of them are occupied by white people. Black people don't do that like that. Put Black Lives Matter flags in their front yard. Black lives don't matter to black people.
Was it ever at a point where you wondered if maybe you should back off a little bit? Did it ever make you want to, sort of be more guarded about what you said, or just, turn down a little because you realized you were inciting some people? Not that it was your fault, but I don't know if that ever crossed your mind.
Yeah, I mean, Look, for me this summer, I haven't been at BLM since 2017. So the weird part for me about this summer was that this thing that I helped to build is all over the place. And I'm like, I'm not there anymore. I'm building Black political power over at the Black Futures Lab. And so...
What you say, sister? You not at BLM no more. You ain't been there since 2017. Now, I know a lot of y'all going to be thinking, oh, well, she missed out on a bunch of money. Listen, those sisters made an average of $100 million a year. Every year since 2012. Now, yes, last year, but from May 26th to December 31st, a 6-month period, they did make $90 million, which was probably their biggest fundraising campaign based around the death of George Floyd. But all those other years, they made $100,000 for the whole year. So she didn't miss out on any money. The fact that she hasn't been around is news. I had no idea that she wasn't part of them anymore. She's with what, the Black Futures something? The Black Futures Lab. What in your future is black? You're married to Chaz Bono's stunt double. You live in a white neighborhood. What in your future is black? If you and the artist formerly known as Karen adopt a kid, at the least that kid's gonna be biracial. That kid may be white, but if they do decide to adopt a black kid, that kid's gonna be biracial. What is the black futures? Like, there's no future blackness in your... Like, give me your palm. I can read your palm. There ain't nothing black in there. You want to do a Ouija board, a crystal ball? There's nothing black in your future, baby.
I remember very clearly that there was a blockage that was happening at the Bay Bridge, and I saw lines of riot cops, and my friend and I freaked out. We didn't know what to do. We had no training on how to deal with police, so we ran into the Starbucks over here on 2nd and Folsom and tried to catch our breath. We didn't know what was happening. And I tell that story, by the way, y'all, because that's just real. Like, people don't start off brave and courageous and knowing how to deal with stuff. We're human beings, and we learn how it is that we engage with systems of power, how we feel when we have to come into direct contact with people who can quite literally make life or death decisions for us.
Just look at the way she describes the police. People who can make life or death decisions for us. And she's talking about a friggin' riot where they were rioting and tearing up the Bay Area over there. I think it was that Fruitvale Station. What was that guy? Oscar Wilde or something, whatever his name was. I forgot that guy's name, but yeah, they were mobbing and looting and rioting and protesting. She was involved with it. And when things got too thick, she ran into the Starbucks. Even though allegedly black people ain't supposed to be able to be in the Starbucks unless they buy something. That was what I heard. But she describes the police as people who can literally make life or death decisions for us. Really? That's what police are to you?
And it was later on that day that I saw Malachi in a crowd. And he was also doing a role of security. And I said to my friend, who is that? Who that over there? So clearly I was there for the right purpose, right?
The first time she saw artist formerly known as Karen, she was smitten. And that's not the most crazy revelation in this interview. Think about that. This woman who's made hundreds of $millions of dollars, become, a bit of a celebrity. She's known all over the world. She's generationally rich. The first time she saw this being, she was smitten. And that's not the craziest thing she's about to tell us.
And a couple of weeks later, through that same network, I got an email about getting trained as an organizer at the School of Unity and Liberation. And so I applied. And when I showed up for my interview, the person who was supposed to interview me wasn't there yet. Oh, man. It was 40 minutes late.
Stuff happens,
But when the person showed up, it was the person I had seen in the streets that I had said, "Who is that?" And a 20-minute interview turned into a 4-hour conversation. And I remember leaving there and saying, I met my soulmate. That's so weird. So that's how I knew that I wanted to invest in their work, because I wanted to invest in them.
You wanted to do you're doing all this crap because Chaz Bono's stunt double is involved in this stuff. If it wasn't for her, whatever you think they want to be called, if it wasn't for that, you would just be some face in the crowd as CNN cameras panned some protest somewhere. But you decided that you had to really, really get involved in this BLM crap because it would bring you closer to the artist formerly known as Karen. Are you kidding me? Black men, I told you, this has never been about us. We've always been props. This was never about us. And many of y'all are coming to that realization. I will say that. It's been slow. Took you about 8-9 years, but, whatever. Other things took you hundreds of years to figure out. So, relatively speaking, 8 or 9 years isn't that long.
Work, because I wanted to invest in them. And just the story and the heart and the spirit that we shared that day and for many, many days afterwards encourages me to invest in them every single day. And by way of that, I invest in what you believe in because I believe in you.
And now I have chiefs of police saying, I know we have problems with use of force. And when I used to say that 7 years ago, Korea knows, she worked with me. They look at us like we said, F your mother. They look at us like, who let you in the door? How dare you? And now they're like, yeah, we kind of have a problem with that. Right? And so Alicia's work has made ours possible and has made the acceleration of the opening of cell doors more possible. And for that, no matter what our relation, I will always love her for.
So let me get this straight. If it wasn't for Paul Blart here, there would be no Black Lives Matter. If Paul Blart here wasn't so hot, looking like a snack that day, a battery snack, a non-conforming binary alternative snap, we would have no Black Lives Matter. Wow. Wow. This really makes me hate you, Paul Blart. Like, seriously, man. You started all this crap. And now you got sisters out here acting like a fool because there's no bail. You get locked up in these major cities, you out the next day, if not the same day. Judges are lenient. You got to commit a mass murder to really get some time nowadays. The cops aren't proactively policing because if they make one mistake, they may be on death row. They're definitely going to lose their job. So they're just sitting back and letting you Negroes just do whatever you want to do. And you sisters are Negroes too, so y'all get to do whatever y'all want to do. But there are some consequences still within a civilized society. And it's fool's gold at the end of the day, because sooner or later, all of this stuff is going to catch up to you guys. All this stuff is going to come to an end. And you're going to do something really, really bad that even post-2020 America is going to punish you for.
This young mother killed in an exchange of gunfire as deputies were serving a search warrant at a home in Camden County. Investigators say the woman was 37-year-old Latoya James.
And her cousin, 46-year-old Varshawn Brown, was also shot and is in the hospital right now. The scene of the shooting was a home on US 17 south of Woodbine. No deputies were injured. News4Jax reporter Janice Harris is in South Georgia and has been talking with the cousin's family members who say this doesn't make sense, Janice.
That is exactly what they're saying. We know that the two individuals are related. They're, in fact, cousins. The family says despite the information released today from GBI, they have more questions. Woodbine, Georgia is a small town where everyone knows each other. Word has spread quickly of a deadly shooting. This family is trying to figure out how their loved one, 37-year-old Latoya Denise James, was shot and killed during a drug-related search warrant. Carolyn Woods is James's aunt. She learned about the shooting early this morning.
And that's when I knew that it was the house. And I knew my cousin lived up in there.
Camden County Sheriff's Office says it was executing a search warrant at 46-year-old Varshawn Brown's home around 4:51 a.m. In a statement, GBI said Camden County Sheriff's Office was executing a drug-related search warrant, knocked and announced themselves before making entry into the residence. They go on to say there was an exchange of gunfire between Varshawn Lamont Brown and Latoya Denise James. Pastor Devon Knight is also related to Brown. He says despite the preliminary report, he has more questions.
I find that very hard to believe, especially with James. Now, my cousin Sean, I'm sure he was very protective of his house, very protective of his environment. He probably was trying to protect himself, thinking it was a robber or something of that nature, and he could have exchanged fire, but I just do not believe that Latoya exchanged any type of gunfire.
Very similar to the Breonna Taylor situation. Damn drug house, drug dealers got on the cops' radar. Obviously an investigation done, because everybody knows there has to be an investigation done before you can get a warrant. You can't just bust in nobody's house. They identified themselves, made entry into the home, and were fired upon. They fired back. The man survived and the woman was killed. Very similar to Breonna Taylor. You think that they're going to be talking about this on Inside the NBA and the NBA pregame show on ESPN and Sports Center? America don't have enough bandwidth for all these cases. You got to hit the lottery. It's a few can sneak through. Like this year, you've had Andrew Brown, but that still didn't really. CNN in the mainstream media is trying to make the Andrew Brown thing something, but people are goddamn criminal. The Dante Wright thing, they tried, but that was more because it happened during the final weeks of deliberation in the George Floyd case. Ma'Khia Bryant, that happened because it was moments after the Chauvin trial. I mean, the verdict in the Chauvin trial. So it's like, but now that all that dust is settled, you really got to hit the lottery to really. There'll be more cases, but I don't know if this one will get any traction. So, sister, your death is in vain. You died in a shootout at a drug house. The end.
He could have exchanged fire, but I just do not believe that LaToya exchanged any type of gunfire.
And GBI also said this in a note that they will conduct an independent investigation. Once it is completed, it will be turned over to the Brunswick Judicial Circuit District Attorney's Office for review. At this point, the family insists that they believe there are details about this shooting that are still missing. Reporting live in Woodbine, Georgia, Camden County, Janice Harris, Channel 4. The local station.
The Hate Crimes Task Force is investigating an attack involving this woman, and police need help finding her. Investigators say she told a 50-year-old Asian woman to get off her train, saying she did not belong here, and then slapped her in the back of the head. The attack happened April 19th on a southbound D train. Both women got off of the train at the 9th Avenue and Atlantic Avenue station. If you recognize her, call NYPD's Crime Stoppers hotline. The phone number is 1-800.
And yeah, nothing's going to happen to this sister. She's going to, I mean, like, she'll be able to work anywhere. She'll be able to be involved in any aspect of society without this being held against her in the future. They're going to say she's crazy, but she wasn't crazy enough to put clothes on. She wasn't crazy enough to get braids put in her hair. But yeah, just seeing a 50-year-old woman and slapping her upside her head and telling her to get off the train. There'll be no consequences. However, when they do find her and arrest her, she may have a criminal record. And, you know, when she gets inevitably caught again for something else, that may be something that the judge will look at and see a pattern, maybe, even though its rape patterns are racist. But depending on the judge, she may come into a judge, finally have a judge in her next assault case in the future when the judge doesn't care if patterns are racist. And they use that, you know, against her past, which this will now be her past then. So, but like I say, it's not just everybody can do. Black people can do whatever they want now. There's really no restraints on black behavior because the police have been, a lot of units have been cut. These subway, they said they didn't want any police on the subway because George Floyd got killed in Minneapolis. So they didn't want any police in the subway in New York, so they cut back hundreds and thousands of hundreds of thousands of man hours and hundreds of cops from the New York subway. And now you have this. But it's not safe for anybody. Not only 50-year-old Asian women, but it's not safe for anybody. And 98% of the stories we see, the person doing stuff like this is black. And in this case, it's a black woman. So that's what's really happening. Black people have gone wild, and in some cases, it's women.
Philadelphia police are hoping someone can help them identify a woman accused of threatening a restaurant worker with a gun. It happened inside the Panda Chinese food store on North Uber Street Monday night. Police say the woman got angry with the 41-year-old worker because she had to wait for her food. The employee says the customer started cursing and then pointed the gun at her. The woman did leave without hurting anyone, but if you've got any information on who this woman might be, you're urged to contact police today.
I'm making a call. First, take the $5 challenge, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. I'm making a call, a plea. I need videos of Karens doing this. Karens are doing this, right? Karens are just whipping out at the corner store, pulling out guns because their food is late, right? They're not calling the manager. They're not calling the manager, right? Because that was the problem all last year. Karens be calling the manager on people. They be weaponizing the police. Which would you rather have? Would you have, if you worked at a store and you gave somebody bad service, would you rather some Karen is making a hissy fit or calling the police? Or would you want somebody whipping out a damn revolver on your face? Making that plexiglass go to work. That plexiglass there for a reason. And it's Philadelphia. You already seen the video I did where they said plexiglass is racist. Hit one if you saw that video. Plexiglass is racist. And in this case, I guess it was racist. It stopped this sister from doing stopped the black woman from doing what she wanted to do. Put his knee on this black woman's gun. But yeah, I mean, look, man, call the manager on me, call the police on me, man. I'd rather deal with a Karen, man. I don't know, man. I deal with a Karen over Quantasia, man. Quantasia too much, man. Especially now in 2021. Post 2020 America.
Shot and killed a 16-year-old black girl, saying she was threatening others with a knife.
I cannot defend Ma'Khia Bryant.
First instinct of a police officer.
Come on now,
not to exterminate.
He didn't say it today. You ruined today.
That child is a consequence of a broken system.
The way you're painting this story out, Mitchell, officer is a hero. I don't really think that you care to see it.
Don't do that.
I don't think that you do.
Hold on. Don't do that.
Hey, it's a brotherhood. Woo-hoo. Brother, where you at? It's about that time, so grab a snack. The crew is here and we're ready to go. Roger, here we go. Hey, oh, feeling good. Yeah, it's the brotherhood. The bros have entered the chat room.
Where we tackle topics from diverse
hit the like button. Hit the like button. Share these videos. Take the $5 challenge, the $10 challenge, the $20 challenge, whatever you decide. They're still talking about Ma'Khia. They're still upset about Ma'Khia. And It's us against the world over here. Who you rolling with? Us or the world?
Just pray for his wife and his kids.
He was a dedicated father, a dedicated police officer.
Friends and neighbors brought to tears. Tonight, the tri-state area mourns the loss of Anastasio Sakos, a 14-year NYPD veteran killed in the line of duty, hit by an alleged drunk driver who just kept on going.
And new at 11 tonight, we're learning more about that suspect and what she allegedly said to police as she was being arrested. Good evening, I'm Christine Johnson.
And I'm Dick Brennan, in for Maurice Dubois. Tonight, neighbors are paying tribute outside the fallen officer's home in Northport, where he leaves behind a wife and 2 children.
And earlier today, a solemn salute as officers line the streets to honor this fallen hero.
We have team coverage tonight. Nick Calloway has more on how Officer Sakos is being remembered. But we begin tonight with Allie Bauman, live in Kew Gardens, with the latest on the investigation. Allie.
Dick and Christine, 2 families are left devastated tonight. Officer Sakos was a beloved husband and father of 2, and the woman accused of killing him is the sole provider for her 13-year-old son. She kept her...
2 families are torn apart? Who cares about one of those families? She's the sole provider for her 13-year-old son. Well, listen, I'm going to give the brother who left her a single mother, I'm going to give him a break. Have you seen a video of her on Facebook Live? She's a horrible person. And to think that she got in the car after that, after downing shot after shot and smoking weed, the next thing she did was get in a car, and she's got a 13-year-old at home. And now, like, what? This is what happens. You get in the car and you kill somebody because you're drunk, and now you can't go home to your 13-year-old, and he probably goes to foster care. Like Micaiah. The system failed him. No. The system didn't fail him. The system didn't fail Micaiah. The parent failed them. Who gives a damn about her or a 13-year-old son? And is she the sole provider? Who cares about that? She's a horrible person, and she made terrible decisions, and she did a dreadful thing.
Dick and Christine, 2 families are left devastated tonight. Officer Sakos was a beloved husband and father of 2, and the woman accused of killing him is the sole provider for her 13-year-old son. She kept her head down during the arraignment tonight as prosecutors detailed the 13-count complaint against her and is now being held without bail. The family of 32-year-old Jessica Beauvais silently supported her in court Tuesday, where she was arraigned on a slew of charges that include second-degree aggravated manslaughter and operating a motor vehicle under the influence of drugs or alcohol. This just 20 hours after police say she hit and killed 43-year-old police officer Anastasio Sakos, a 14-year veteran of the NYPD's Highway Patrol Unit and a father of 2.
They will never see their father again. Because somebody did the wrong thing.
Because somebody did the wrong thing? Are you kidding me? Did you see this guy's tone after that 5'1" Hispanic woman accused that 14-year-old black teen of stealing her phone in that hotel in Manhattan? How do y'all remember that story? I did a video on that. It made it all the way to Good Morning America. 2 weeks of national coverage, because at the time they thought she was white because everything was caught on security footage, and you know, those Latinas, they be looking like white women even though they basically are white women. But whatever, you know, there's a slight difference. But anyway, for days they thought it was a white woman, so it made national news. Once they found out she was a Latina, it died in like a few days. But nevertheless, de Blasio made a big deal. He apologized to the family. He did press conference. He tweeted. He talked about how it is a reflection on America and the country and the tone and the tenor, and how the direction of the country was the last 4 years. All this doom is gloom and all this crap, right? This sister kills one of his police officers after spending the previous 3-4 hours on Facebook talking about how she hated cops and how cops were the worst people in the world. In between shots, a Hennessy, she didn't get to the car, mows down one of his police officers, and she did the wrong thing. This is what happens when people do the wrong thing. The pandering, man. People going to start getting jealous, if not tired of it. If people don't get tired of this, they're just going to be jealous. It's like, damn. So when a black person does something, it's just the wrong thing. When a white person cuts their eyes at a black person, that black person is being interviewed by Michael Strahan and Gayle King a few days later. And there's a national conversation being had on Don Lemon show every night about what's going wrong in America. Really? People get tired of this crap. This pandering to black people.
They will never see their father again because somebody did the wrong thing.
Just after midnight, NYPD officers responded to a deadly car crash on the Long Island Expressway ramp to the Clearview Expressway. Police say a car carrying 4 people slammed into a concrete wall and burst into flames. At least 1 person died. As police were investigating, Officer Sakos was directing traffic around the scene.
So, as I told you in the video the other day, how many of y'all saw the video I did the other day on LeBron James, where I chronicled how police run to these scenes? This car blew up. You think the police knew the moment it was going to blow up as they ran to the scene to pull these people out of the vehicle? No, they just run to the scene and try to pull you out of the vehicle. They don't know the second. They don't know if it's going to blow up, if it's not going to blow up. But they damn sure don't know the moment it is. So the car blew up and one of the people died. I told you this is what happens all over America. And it's ironic that that's the scene that led to Officer Sakos. He was directing traffic around this scene when Sister Soldier mowed him down with her car. I told you there's 17,985 police departments. This happens at least once a day in all of them. Police officers running the cars that are in flames to pull people out that they don't know, not knowing the moment that the car's going to just blow up. And we got to hear about 14 dope fiends and jailbirds that get killed while resisting arrest every year.
Prosecutors allege Beauvais was speeding on the LIE when she allegedly struck Officer Sakos, catapulting him into the air.
Police officer who died saving other police officers. His partner yelled out, and other police officers were able to get out of the way.
Prosecutors claim Beauvais kept driving, dragging a safety cone with her windshield shattered past several exits before turning off on Horace Harding Expressway, where her car jumped the curb and police surrounded her. Prosecutors allege Beauvais' car backed up, hitting a police car behind her twice before coming to a stop. That's when
So she did 1,000 times more crap than she said would get her killed by the police on her Facebook Live hours before this happened. Police just running around killing black people for no reason. She was talking about, and police are killing black people, and you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do nothing without the police coming to kill you. Then she gets in the car, drunk as a skunk, speeding, slams into a police officer First, speeding through a work zone. I got a $270 ticket one time for going like 45 miles per hour through a work zone. They sent it to me in the mail. I didn't even know. Like, they just sent me in the mail, yeah, you were speeding through this work zone. Like, damn. She's speeding through just there's an accident, you're supposed to slow down. She's speeding through that. She hits a police officer, sends him 30 feet in the air. The impact crushes her windshield. A safety cone is wedged under her car. And she drives for another 5, 6, 7, 8 miles. The police catch up with her. She rams into their car multiple times. And I want y'all to tell me, do this woman look like she has a scratch on her? Does she look like the cuffs are on too tight? And this is the woman that was telling you that you can't leave your house without the police hunting you down hours before.
Prosecutors claim Beauvais kept driving, dragging a safety cone with her windshield shattered past several exits before turning off on Horace Harding Expressway, where her car jumped the curb and police surrounded her. Prosecutors allege Beauvais' car backed up, hitting a police car behind her twice before coming to a stop. That's when she was arrested. Prosecutors claim police body cam captured her asking an officer, quote, "What did I do?" Police say Beauvais' blood alcohol content was twice the legal limit. She was driving with a suspended license and has a history of traffic violations, though this is her first arrest. Beauvais had been hosting a podcast under the name Phoenix Michelle, which streamed live on Facebook for about 2 hours before the accident.
I'm sorry that I hit him out of your bed.
Prosecutors allege Beauvais admitted to police she was drinking alcohol and smoking marijuana before she got in the car and said she did not know where she was going and followed GPS. She's due back in court later this month, and if convicted of the charges, she could face up to 15 years in prison. We're live outside Queens Criminal Court in Kew Gardens. Allie Bauman, CBS 2 News.
All right, Allie.